Hello and welcome to a Tomato Girl aesthetic pattern roundup. Hi y'all and welcome back. Thanks for joining. So today I am covering the Tomato Girl aesthetic. This was aesthetic that was pretty big last summer, I would say, and I'm seeing kind of come back around, and I think is a really great way to have knitwear during the summer. Also, hello to Fig. She's decided to join us for today. We'll see how long that lasts. But it is an aesthetic that, was popularized last summer, and I'm seeing it come back around. It's a really great way to, I think, include knitwear in your summer knitting or your summer wardrobe, because it's pretty minimal. It is an aesthetic inspired by kind of the Mediterranean, Greece and Italy especially, which are warmer climates. So it's kind of naturally made to be a summer aesthetic. So it is a really great way to, try to wear some knitwear in the summer, or just a good source of inspiration. So I find it really hard to dress in the summer. I just always feel like, I don't know, I end up in a pair of leggings and a tank top because I'm just hot and tired. And so this is a really great source of inspiration for dressing a little bit cuter in the summer and incorporating knitwear where you can. So before we get into the patterns, a quick kind of summary of Tomato Girl. It is an aesthetic that I've already mentioned is inspired a lot by the Mediterranean, especially kind of Greece and Italy, and a lot of the common dressing there. Unsurprisingly, it is inspired by places where they eat a lot of tomatoes, hence the name. Something that distinguishes Tomato Girl from a traditional kind of Italian or Grecian or just Mediterranean aesthetic is specifically a lot of pops of red. There are tons and tons of red tones in the Tomato Girl, which is fun. It makes it something that I'm always a little intimidated to wear. I don't love red, but yeah, lots of red. And then along with the red, we often see neutrals, mostly white. It's not even a lot of warm tone neutrals. It's mostly like a stark white, some beiges though, and then occasionally a blue. It's kind of the main palette, unless of course you're doing a fun print. Fun prints are also kind of a big part of Tomato Girl, specifically often of food. So like a print with different kinds of food, eggs, toast, tomatoes, of course, like all that kind of stuff, on a button down or cool pants or a whole dress. Like things like that are really fun. And then, there's no rules for the colors within those prints. They just has to kind of be a large scale print, largely of food. So there's a lot of different elements to Tomato Girl. It's simple, but it also has a lot in it. It also frequently has like a headscarf. So this is my most Tomato Girl item I think I own. This is not my aesthetic, so it's gonna be interesting to kind of cover something that I actually don't personally dress with. But headscarves are often very frequently featured. I have recently talked about so many different headscarf patterns, so I'm choosing to focus on other elements today. But if you wanted to encompass the Tomato Girl, you could also throw a little bandana on, pull your hair back, wrap a bandana or a scarf around a ponytail like I've done today, or anything like that is also going to be a fun kind of Tomato Girl element. But patterns wise for knitting, let's get into it. So I have 4 different categories today, each with 3 patterns for 12 patterns total that we will talk about. The first category of the day is a fun print, which I just mentioned. So a lot of Tomato Girl outfits include some sort of fun, funky, food-themed, often print. So I pulled as many patterns as I could. I will say there's a large lack of food-themed knitting patterns, or like fun, large-scale prints in knitting patterns, which makes sense. Those are very difficult to do with stranded color work, and there's not that many intarsia patterns that are detailed. It adds a lot of work to it if you're doing a sweater or top with intarsia if you're changing colors so many times, it's a little complicated. So it makes sense, but I found what I can, and if you have any other suggestions for fun prints, please let me know. But the first one is the Tomato Tea. This is by Yarn Farm, and it just came out this month, or I guess now last month. It's officially June. And it's just a cute little t-shirt with a tomato right on the front. It's categorized as a bulky weight yarn, or a bulky weight pattern, so this would knit up pretty quickly. But yeah, it's just a close fitting t-shirt with a nice tomato pattern on the front. It goes up to a 5X, so an extra small to a 5X. And it's a beautiful pattern, bulky weight, would knit up really quickly, and I just really love the little tomato on the front. I think it's really, really cute, really classic, and is a perfect introduction to the tomato girl knitting style. So that's the first pattern. The next pattern I will talk about with a fun print is the Fruity Slipover. This is by Hip Knit Shop. You can buy it from their website. They also they sell yarn, so they offer the yarn for the pattern, but you can also, of course, use whatever you want as long as it meets gauge. This is a super bulky slipover pattern, and you can choose either the lemon print, which is super cute, or the strawberries. I feel like I would go for the strawberries maybe. Although the lemon, I don't know, both could work for Tomato Girl, but it's just a really fun print. And yeah, super bulky weight, would knit up really quickly again. This pattern, I will say, is not the best size-wise. It has an extra small, a medium, and a large extra large. So there's not a great amount of ease, and the largest size goes up to a 133 centimeter bust, and it's meant to be worn with 5 to 10 centimeters of ease. So it's not, I don't know, I don't love featuring patterns that are not size inclusive, but this was a very difficult topic to find things to knit with for a fun print. So I am featuring this today, but I think, you know, if someone has a different suggestion for another slipover, I'd be happy to update in the comments, like, hey, there's this better pattern. So let me know if you have another recommendation. But it is a really beautiful pattern, and it would be really fun. I like that in one pattern you do get 2 different prints, both the lemons and the strawberries. So it's a cost-effective slipover pattern since it's basically 2 different slipovers, but just keep that in mind with the size inclusivity. And the final pattern with a fun print is called Circus. It is a Filcolana pattern, so it is free, and I'm pulling it up to show you. It is originally by Popknit, the designer Popknit. It goes up to a 3XL, which is a lot better. This vest is on the heavier side as well. It is knit with one strand of Alva, 2 strings of Paya, and 1 string of Tilia by Filcolana. So I think together that ends up being at least a DK, if not maybe a little heavier than that. I'll check and see if I can figure out the exact weight. It's hard to kind of do that knitting math in my head with, okay, how much, like, what is each strand and what does that get together? But it is a little bit heavier as well for this color work. But it features this really cool, it's like a patchwork design, but then it has kind of an argyle or lattice print over it to make a very interesting large scale design. It's of course not fruit or vegetables or food of any kind, which is what a lot of the Tomato Girl patterns feature, but I still think that, you know, in a simple color palette, this could be a really nice Tomato Girl inspired fun print. So those are the fun prints. We're going a little quicker, which I think is always nice, maybe to have a quicker video, so that's okay. The next pattern I will talk about, or the category of patterns I will talk about, is a bright red cardigan. Of course, you can knit a cardigan in any color, and generally it's a pretty simple cardigan I'm talking about, but I think specifically for Tomato Girl, having a pop of red is going to be very, very essential. It is kind of a main part of the aesthetic. So I've found a few cardigans that I think are very simple, very nice and oversized as well, so you have a little bit more breathability and could look amazing in bright red. A lot of the samples are already even in bright red, so let's get into it. The first one I will talk about is the Eva Cardigan by Petite Knit. I'm actually wearing the Eva Cardigan, of course not in bright red. Mine is knit in a nice kind of grayish beige color, but in a bright red this would be amazing. It is a DK weight cardigan, features double knit edging for the button band, the arm cuffs, and the hem of the body, and is otherwise just a simple stockinette sweater, which is really well shaped with kind of a compound between a drop shoulder and a raglan to get a very, I think, well-fitting cardigan. And of course everybody's a bit different, it might fit you a little differently, but generally it's just a very simple pattern. I already think I want to make this in a pop of color, probably not red for me, but would be amazing in a bright red shade. So that's the first recommendation for just a simple cardigan that I think would look amazing in bright red over like a white outfit, like a white tank top and a flowy white skirt would just be amazing. The next one is the Calm Down cardigan, and there's actually a sample in bright red for this. This is a pattern by Lily Kate France. It's also knit in a DK weight. It is suggested to just hold, one DK weight yarn. And yeah, it's a really interesting construction as well. I really like this one. Has these cool kind of shoulder details where it's this 1x1 ribbing that goes down your shoulder like this, and then like when you pick up for sleeves here, there's some 1x1 ribbing going this way up and down around the sleeve. So I think that's a really interesting design feature on this one. It adds just something interesting, something different to overall a simple design. And yeah, it looks great in bright red. I would 100%, well, I probably wouldn't wear bright red. I just don't like bright red, but I think that I would 100% love to see this on someone else in bright red. It's wonderful, and again would look just great over a simple white outfit otherwise. So it's a great pattern. And the final cardigan pattern I will talk about is the Anque Cardigan. This is by Petite Knit again. Normally I don't feature Petite Knit that much in these videos because I feel like everyone gets sick of Petite Knit patterns, but listen, sometimes a designer is just good at a certain aesthetic. Like, you know, designers feature their own aesthetics or their own styles in the pieces they make, and I think Petite Knit has some good tomato girl energy. So some of these patterns are really good from her. Like, they fit really well, and I'm trying to give you really good examples, and that's what I have. So the Anque Cardigan by Petite Knit is also a DK weight cardigan, so all three of these are DK weight, which I think that's my favorite cardigan weight. I don't know, I love a DK weight garment, but it is an all over brioche garment with a nice double knit button band, ribbed finishing, 1x1 ribbing finishing on the bottom, and yeah, overall a beautiful piece. Her sample's also in bright red, which influenced me a little bit here to choose this piece to talk about, but yeah, again, looks great. Petite Knit has styled it with a white tank top or t-shirt and a pair of jeans. I think that's a really great look. Could also do like a skirt of some kind with it, to really get that tomato girl look. I think like a white flowy maxi skirt with it would be wonderful, or just over like a white dress. And before we move on to the next set of inspiration, I do want to take a break here to say that this video is sponsored by Hooks and Needles. Thank you so much to Hooks and Needles for sponsoring. I really appreciate my viewers supporting me to where I can get sponsorships now. It really helps me out to make this a more sustainable thing for me, since sitting down making these videos does take a lot of time on my part. And thank you so much to Hooks and Needles for supporting a small channel like me. I'm gonna cut to some footage of me opening my original boxes and do a little voiceover to tell you more about them. So cutting to that. Okay, thank you so much again to Hooks and Needles for sponsoring. This is the footage from me receiving my boxes for the month of May. So Hooks and Needles is a monthly crochet or knitting subscription box. So once a month you receive a box with yarn to make a project, patterns from beginner to advanced levels, all the materials you need to make a project, including the hooks or needles, if you need buttons or eyelets, all of that's included, as well as some information about the yarn you're receiving, the summer or whatever season it is. They include trends within the crafting space in the back of their booklets, as well as a fun little crossword. So it's a really great way to get into knitting or crochet, or if you already are into it, it's a really great way, I think, to keep inspiration. They are also really flexible with their subscription, so you can pause it at any time or cancel it as needed. And yeah, it's wonderful to receive a box every month, which has been seasonally curated so that it has yarns and colors that are in line with what is currently trendy, or different seasonal color trends. So you can see I just held up the pink and bright green and white yarns for the kind of going into summertime. I think that this is a really great way to just stay engaged with the seasons while you're knitting or crocheting and stay inspired, similar to how I do these knitting inspirations with different kinds of patterns. I think this is a really approachable way to get a little dose of knitting inspiration or crochet inspiration every month in your booklet, as well as with the yarns you receive. So I hope that it can strike something interesting. I'm now showing the knitting box with Kepler in the back. There's just really great patterns available every month, and they're a really great company. I do love that they do work with small creators, so they're really worth supporting. They're also a small business. And you can see here's the yarn. It's a cotton blend in the knitting box, and the crochet box came with a bamboo blend, 150 grams in each box, tea, of course, knitting needles, everything you'd need to do the projects. So if you're interested in supporting them, you can use the code handmakes20 for 20% off your first box, or use the link in my bio. Okay, and welcome back. Thank you again to Hooks and Needles. They're a really great partner to work with, and thank you to all of you for supporting me, watching my channel, making this happen. It's greatly appreciated. But back into our pattern recommendations. The next set of kind of Tomato Girl patterns is a nice boat neck t-shirt or blouse. I feel like boat neck's perfect because it's in the name. You can wear it's for boats. Of course, I don't really know why they're called a boat neck, maybe because they have like the hull of a boat, but I always think you gotta wear it on a sailboat or something. And Tomato Girl, heavily inspired by the Mediterranean. What's in the Mediterranean? A sea where you can go on boats. So that's how I am connecting this. There's also a lot of photos of boat necks. I'm not just saying this is the style. But yes, I have 3 boat neck or t-shirt patterns that we will talk about. The first one, it's a very famous pattern as well. It's by My Favorite Things Knitwear. It's blouse number 1. This is just a very nice, simple blouse that I think is wonderfully shaped. I made the light version of this in December or January, and it's a really well thought out pattern. It's pretty simple, but so well thought out. It is an Aran weight, and yeah, just super simple. It is knit originally in the Knitting for Olive pure silk with 2 strands held together, so it's a really great chance to marl. Maybe if you don't want to do a super bright red for this, you could do a marl like a red and a white together to get this blouse, or go for it and do like a solid red. I think would be wonderful, or white or cream of some kind would just look wonderful. It's just a really great pattern. I really love this blouse, the way it fits, and I think that the neckline is really flattering and fits well into this style, where you could peel some garlic in this outfit, go on a boat in it. It's just feels like it would be perfect for a nice Mediterranean evening, which is what we're trying to conjure with Tomato Girl. The next pattern I will talk about is the Brightest Tea. This is also by Lily Kate France, and is a really nice kind of almost cap sleeve t-shirt. So it's not quite actually a boat neck, but it has just very nice cap sleeves, and it's overall pretty fitted to the body. It's got some ribbing details on the side and some eyelets to help with that, and I think it's just really classic and would look great with just like a pair of skinny jeans, something like that. Oh, and if I didn't say, it is knit in fingering weight as well. And yeah, just a classic simple top that I think, again, bright red or white, or even like white and blue stripes, something like that. This would be really easy to add stripes into. Could make just a really nice addition to your Tomato Girl wardrobe or outfit. Next pattern is the Shorty by Anne Venzel. This is a really nice t-shirt as well, with really great eyelet details on it to help keep you cool. Again, would look great in bright red, or it could be in like a bright white. I think could also be really wonderful for this. It's not quite a boat neck, but it is a wider necked t-shirt. And it's slightly, like, I'll have a picture up of this. It's a raglan construction, but I think where the raglan comes out, it's like a one stitch raglan, kind of pulls it a little bit to make it a little bit boat neck looking. It doesn't really fit like boat neck on, but yeah, it does have that slight kind of pull out that boat necks do. And the eyelets are a great detail, I think, for any sort of summer knits. I always say, like, add holes to it as much as you can. Of course, you know, then that complicates what you wear under it, but just getting some more airflow is always great. And this one is also this is a DK weight. It's suggested to hold a sport and a lace together. I would probably just say knit with a DK, maybe cotton or linen blend, if you want to be wearing this in the summer. But of course, whatever meets gauge and whatever works for your life is the best thing for you. But oh my gosh, I'm moving very quickly. Those are the boat necks, or t-shirts / blouses. I guess they're not all boat necks, but having something that kind of has a wider neckline and will keep you cool, but look just simple and elegant, I guess. I always think a boat neck is really a nice, elegant piece, since it kind of elongates or widens your collarbones or your neck. But moving on to the final category of Tomato Girl patterns is bralettes, or some sort of like little tank top. So I've got 3 to talk about, but essentially a lot of these are worn, you know, under your big red cardigan, having a simple bralette, it can be longer too, but generally like thin strapped bra, top, a v-neck, close to the body, top of some kind. So I've pulled 3. The first pattern is the Nurture Bralette by Celine Phaeton. I actually recently knit this, and there are instructions to make it longer if you want. So you could do a full tank top with this, or leave it as that bralette. I like this one a lot because it features some nice lace details and really interesting ribbing in the bottom to make a beautiful pattern with it. So it's not only just a simple bralette, but it has this nice feature at the bottom to kind of make a scalloped edge and a leaf-like pattern, which I just think is beautiful. Again, could be amazing in a bright red or a white under your bright red cardigan. Either way would be wonderful, and if you're more comfortable making it longer, you should definitely do that, whatever suits you. But I think it's a really well-written pattern. It's got a variety of sizes. There is an element of made to fit as well, so you take some of your own measurements to get what you really want out of the pattern. So I think that it's just a really well thought out pattern that I would highly recommend to anyone, and I think fits really well in the Tomato Girl to have a nice simple bralette. The next pattern I will talk about is the Aphrodite Bralette by Sonata Pilicate. I'm probably butchering that last name, my apologies, but Aphrodite Bralette, it is a DK weight pattern, and it is similar to the Nurture Bralette. I mean, they're all bralettes, but I like this one a lot because the ribbing goes up and kind of goes between the breasts to frame a little bit more, and again, you can expand the ribbing to make it into a full top or stick with the bralette version, and it's super simple. I love the thin straps on it, and I think the shaping to make the kind of bust cups is really, really well done. to add it as a detail rather than having it kind of be something that the design is trying to hide. So it's a great pattern. Again, in a bright red or a white would be my suggestions for Tomato Girl, but you could do anything if you wanted. And the final pattern I will talk about today is the shell bra. This is by Naked Knit, and it is a really interesting bralette. It has this ribbing. It's like a wide rib, but it goes left to right rather than up and down, which is what you typically see to kind of make these shell shapes, or it almost looks like eyes in your bralette. This one would be a little bit harder to lengthen. I think that you could lengthen the bottom. It's just a double knit band on the bottom, and you could lengthen that, which could be very interesting too. But it is made to be a bralette pattern. Naked Knit specifically makes a lot of bras of like very small garments to wear under clothing or to sleep in, things like that. But yeah, it's a great, interesting pattern. I think, again, would look wonderful under a button down if you wanted to do it in like a bright red and have a button down with a fun print on it, or in white or whatever color suits you under your red cardigan, whatever, to really encompass that Tomato Girl look, I think would be awesome. And this is knit in a lace weight. So it was originally knit in like a fine cashmere, but I think that there's some really great lace weight linen yarns out there. Knitting for Olive Pure Silk is also a pretty light fingering weight, so I'm wondering if you could use that instead and get close enough to gauge. So lots of options out there with that one. But those are all the patterns I wanted to talk about today. I feel like this video was very brief, but I think that's great sometimes. It is nice to have a shorter video, so I hope you enjoyed. I hope maybe you're inspired by Tomato Girl knitting patterns. It's interesting. Like I mentioned a couple times, I wouldn't wear a lot of these colors. I love the patterns that I'm talking about, but the aesthetic itself is a little bit more out of my typical repertoire, so it's interesting covering something like that, learning more about it and seeing what I can feature. So I hope that it was still good recommendations, given that maybe I'm not into this aesthetic as much. So let me know if you still found the patterns I talked about compelling or interesting, if there's any other patterns you would add, and what are you going to be knitting over the summer? Are you going to do some summer garments? What kinds? I just love to hear, what is calling your name for inspiration this summer. So, all right, I will wrap it up there, and I will talk to you all next week. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.